Ladies, gentlemen, I did not know it could be done. This man right here has played with players a 40-year-long Dungeons and Dragons game. That is so beautiful. Man, I absolutely loved getting into Dungeons and Dragons this past year. It was great. The people I've met, great. I still haven't played any games. And like I said, I will always say this and honor you guys. There are so many of you who invited me to play different games. And man, if it, depending on the right one, whatever happens, stars aligned, I still do want to play. What's been bogging me down is there's so much I'm trying to create. And then there's also my boys in my current environment. Why did I say boys? My brothers in my current environment who literally would like me to build a whole D&D world. And I'm just like, y'all, give me a sec, man. There's so much I'm trying to create. And like, that's not, for them DMs out there, that's not a simple process building a good world. Like, I mean, yeah, maybe some of y'all whip it up quick. But me, I'm like an artist. I want to build like factions, societies, the crises going on, and just so much to my world. And I can't, man. I made the first beginning world which was actually good, and I didn't necessarily scrap the idea, but the world was called Valendromier, and I went ham. So that idea is out in the collective consciousness if you guys want it, but there's the name for a world. But I went pretty far with that, but then I just scrapped it, and I might bring it back. I might actually bring it back because I was building off of some crazy stuff, but I might change the name now because now you guys know. So anyways, this is Wired. Shout out to Wired. Let's get into the inside the 40-year-long Dungeons and Dragons game. Obsessed. Let's do it, guys. Ready for this. All right, go.
Remember that game of D&D you started when you were 11? What if it never stopped?
My name is Robert Wardoff. I'm a history professor at the University of Western Ontario. I am a dungeon master for a
camp. I have to run that back. That information came to me quick for my half asleep ass. Hit it again.
My name is Robert Wardoff. I'm a history professor at the University of Western Ontario. I am a dungeon master for
a history professor in D&D. Man, he probably, being a history professor, he probably has some wild world building. Like, I know that still takes creativity and stuff in certain departments, but the fact that he's a history professor, whatever, depending the parts of history, because there's so many parts of history, there's certain art that belongs to history, so I don't know, but like how he probably put together his world. But I know for a fact there has to be either I don't know. I want to give him the credit. I'll be on this side for today. I'm going to say his world is probably insane just due to the fact that he's a history professor. So I'm assuming he has like a wide array of knowledge on certain rises and collapses of civilizations. It just really depends on what part of history he studied. But I'm going to say this world is probably kick-ass.
Campaign that has been going on for 40 years.
Freaking years.
What began
bro.
in secret with a few friends has turned into a game that takes up much of Robert's life and most of his house. Robert has around 30,000 hand-painted figurines, countless
30,000 hand-painted figurines. I love that. I love that. What the fuck?
custom-made pieces of terrain, and dozens of devoted players taking part in his campaign.
My son had the peeps on Zoom call. Is he the only DM, or does he have like assistants helping him, or assistant DMs, like maybe like 2 or 3 DMs to also keep the process running smooth?
If you're going to keep a game going for 40 years, it's going to have to be a good game. If you're going to have people who are going to want to play and are going to want to fly in, you're going to have to offer a product that is going to be better than all the other alternatives that are out there. I can certainly...
He said fly in, and that guy's yin and yang necklace was really cool. I won't go back. I'll keep the video going forward, but it was pretty cool.
Say with confidence that this is the best Dungeons & Dragons game in the world.
Damn! The best Dungeons and Dragons game in the world.
So if I'm playing for 10 hours a week,
you got Tiamat here. That's Tiamat, right? Is it like the mother of all dragons? I'm not freshened up on my D&D lore.
At 52 weeks in a year, that means if I'm doing that times 40, that would be 20,800 hours.
How many minutes is that?
So if I figured that out in minutes, that would end up being 1.24 million minutes, I think.
As you crest the ridge,
I think,
there seems to be quite a commotion. You estimate it could be as many as 24 or so goblins. You surprise them as much as they have surprised you. I need a surprise roll.
Damn, surprise rolls.
That's really just the start. Almost every major decision in Robert's life is designed to keep the game going.
When I was buying a house, the most important part for me was getting a gaming space that I could use.
Okay, so actually, this is a shout out to Purple. For a minute, what I thought she was talking about there was like decisions that he makes. He would roll the dice. I found myself doing that for a little bit after I picked up my first set of dice. But yo, I treated life like a video game. Now I'm treating it like a Dungeons and Dragons video game. Come on now. But like, okay, I see what she's saying. So like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna go on to the topic of. I'm just guessing here. Just let me do my thing, guys. Stop. I'm guessing that. Yeah, when he bought his first house, so I'm saying he's probably was like, I'm gonna need a gaming space and blah blah blah, because that's exactly what I would go into, doing what I do, or I don't know, depending on what certain people are into, but I feel like everyone will go into that with buying a house. You gotta have like this section of the house that's just a man cave or decked out or for something. All right, especially us males out there. I know there's mad gaming females too, so come on, females and males, no more divide. We gonna have a gaming section of the house.
Or my entire basement is my gaming area.
If he doesn't slow down, he's
basement.
gonna need a bigger house.
Shit. You gotta do what you gotta do.
I've got orcs, I've got elves, I've got dwarves, I've got all the basic things that you'd expect, but I also have very distinct and unique figs. I have vampires, I have undead, I have zombies, I have werewolves, beholders.
That's
Tiamat,
cool.
the mother of all dragons, all the big demonic lords from the Demogorgon.
The Demogorgon!
But also heroes. So all the great kings and queens of countries, the high-level wizards, all of these things. My goal is to have everything.
But what's the point of having so many figurines if you don't have any amazing terrain to place them on? Robert has
he's
no
got that,
shortage in that department either.
I need to be able to adapt to wherever the party's going to go. That means that I need to have my green terrains. I need to have mountain terrain. I need to have all of my winter terrain, my arid desert terrains, my water terrains. If they're going to go into a town, now I need a town, okay, are they in a Roman town? Are they in an Anglo-Saxon town? Are they in an African town? Is it high medieval? Is it low medieval? So now I'm trying to be able to put out a village or a town for every one of these historical settings.
Damn! Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Oh, that's so fucking cool, man. Oh, that's so fucking cool.
Can't put figurines on the table unless they are painted up to a certain level. That means that someone's got to do a heck of a lot of painting. And so that ends up being me. If you found me on an average day working on the game, you'd probably see me in my painting room, and I'm going to be spending 2, 3, 4 hours painting figs.
And do people take their figs home?
No. Nobody is allowed to take their figurines home. Nobody is actually allowed to touch the figs on the table. So that's also something that would be different. A person who played Dungeons & Dragons would probably come to my table and they would immediately reach over to grab their fig. I'm probably going to growl at them and tell them, don't touch the figs, because I have to move everything. I'm sure my critics would say that there's a god complex going on about that.
There's a god complex going on. Yeah, I mean, if you're a dungeon master, you're technically pretty close to God in this game. But here's the thing. No, technically you are God in this game. And then the players are like their own miniature gods, also unfolding the story along with you. Yo, but I think that would make sense to me to move the. I mean, that would also kind of take the weight off of you to move your own player. I feel like I would have an in between. I would, if I have the grid or kind of like people know where to move, I would allow them to like move if the figurines are too close to me. I feel like my biggest challenge as the DM, which is like I would like to keep everyone engaged and moving. So maybe allowing them to move their pieces at times would keep them more engaged.
This here is the figurine of the Demon Lord Orcus. It's well known to Dungeons and Dragons. And in my campaign, 100 years ago, which would be in actual time something like maybe 1989, the group banished this demon. So they thought that's fine. Only recently, last year actually, the demon's back. They don't know where he is. They're desperately trying to find him, and he's definitely up to no good.
While
That's
fantasy
cool.
role-playing and nerd culture are often celebrated today, Robert's campaign started during a time when people felt like
Wait, nerd culture and
Well, fantasy-
was that freaking Crash Bandicoot?
role-playing and nerd
What?
culture are often celebrated today.
Oh, it's fantasy and nerd culture.
Robert's campaign started during a time when people felt like they needed to play in secret.
In the 80s and 90s, it was certainly more difficult to try to talk about or explain the game to people. I grew up in a very small town, and it was quite a conservative town. And so the town inevitably found out that we were playing, and they didn't know what the heck we were doing. And Dungeons & Dragons had very bad press at the time.
Tonight we begin with a story about make-believe adventure and real-life violence, and what some critics fear is a connection.
Make-believe adventure and real-life violence. Bro, like sometimes like this, like to me, I'm saying this like, but this right here really shows me that we be living in a matrix, bro. Get a life. It's not like, and I also know it's not exactly their fault. It's what's being written and like, come on, you gotta know that there's some agendas behind that. Because for what reason is someone trying to talk about this? They've done it in gaming too, man. They tried to say that gaming caused violence, all that. It's like I really wonder what agenda is in the bigger whole. I never took the time to actually try to connect the dots, all pin and yarn that shit, and really figure out the thumbtack and thread that idea of what big ass connection is going on with why they would try to put out press like this about a game. It's a game. He said real life violence, made up adventures, and real life violence. What? If it's made up adventures, how is that? It's like who says that next? Made up adventures, but real life violence. So you roll the dice and then deck your friend across the table, or you deck the made up NPCs.
Story about make-believe
So
adventure
sad.
and real-life violence, and what some
Nice.
critics fear is a connection between the two in a game called Dungeons and Dragons.
A movie came out while we were playing called Mazes and Monsters, and it's a story of how they play this
Mazes
game and then
and
they try to act it out
Monster.
in real life, and basically bad things certainly happen.
Can you tell me of the giant dragon? On my travels here, I heard him.
What's
Don't tell me people thought that actual fucking dragons were gonna come out of this game. Please don't tell me that actual adults, grown people afraid of some change or some little fantasy game thought actual fucking dragons would come out of a game. Please do not tell me. Oh my gosh, bro. Whew. Quite the world. Quite the world.
now called the Satanic Panic was going on at the time. Why does my son want to play this game all the time? Why is he obsessed about it? What are you doing to him? Are you a cult leader? I got called a cult leader,
See,
a communist.
And that's the funny thing about it is like the whole goal, and I'm just gonna say this and throw this in this video because this is what I do anyways. The whole goal of the okay, you know what? Fuck it, I'm coupling it together because it is. The whole goal of the current education system and all of this is to kill the human imagination. It is because I will have to go a little bit deeper into what I'm trying to say behind that, but they try to kill your imagination off when you're a kid because they know that imagination creates reality and that your mind, the universe is all, and the mind is all. So who you see in your imagination is the true you. And you could bring those characteristics here to create the life that you would like. So it's obviously beneficial for them to kill off that imagination when you're young. And I feel like D&D must have been a huge threat to that, because that's one of the biggest things that I seen when I came into D&D, that this was truly the work of like getting your imagination firing, and that is so beneficial to creating whatever life you want here, whether it be a firefighter, artist, painter, world traveler, whatever, chef. You see that in your mind first, so cause and effect. And I'm not going to go into the metaphysical shit, but the point is I could see why they would try to kill off this game, because this game literally probably saved millions of imaginations out there.
Like all these crazy labels. When I watched Stranger Things, it obviously hit home for me.
It is almost here. What is it? What if it's the Demogorgon?
Yeah, that's what's so cool. I seen this in Stranger Things, and then I had to go back and go, oh my gosh, they were playing D&D. Like, I connected that. That was so dope.
Screwed if it's the Demogorgon. It's not the Demogorgon.
The whole concept matched exactly what we were doing in the early 1980s.
Over the following decades, Robert went on to build a campaign of unrivaled complexity.
One of the things that makes my game unique is the story and the depth of the campaign. My world is an alternative fantasy version of historical Earth, with other historical aspects added to it. So if somebody comes in and they want to go to Athens, I can now bring in that history, philosophy, religion into the game. I'm able to create when I need to create, come up with totally new races, totally new nations, totally new cultures, totally new mythologies, but also to use what the world already has.
A typical dungeon master curates the quest for a handful of players over the course of a few months. Robert, meanwhile, is tracking the adventures of more than 50 players, with story arcs that often span decades.
Since the beginning, there's probably been about 500 characters that have been made and played within the game. When a new player comes in, I'm inviting them to play a game that they're going to be welcome to keep playing until I die. So you could start a character, 9 generations later, that family could take over, let's say, the Roman Empire. On one level, you're playing that individual character. On a macro level, you're also controlling the Roman Empire. So there are numerous story arcs that are going on. Many of those last for generations. There's love stories, romances, there's quests, there's vengeance. All these things are happening. So even though there is this large campaign quest, this large ultimate goal, you've got literally thousands of subplots and sub-campaigns going on.
Damn. To keep track of all that would be insane, man. He has to have some assistance.
From the beginning, Robert quickly learned which rules could be bent and which rules could be broken.
When we started playing, there was probably a short period of time when I played according to the actual rules, but after that I had to fill in holes, and so I developed my own rule system, and I've never really gone back. So I have what gamers would call a homebrew rule system. And actually that's how the game was intended. When the game first came out, one of the lines in the Dungeon Master Guide told you that these are a set of rules, but to apply these loosely. And within my game and my world, there are all kinds of different aspects that you wouldn't see in an ordinary Dungeons & Dragons rule system. My rules are fast, they're quick flowing, people don't have to stop and check things, and that speed of gameplay is something that I find so different in my game.
That's really important though. Okay, based on how he explained that would help the game go by more, fluidly, because there's a lot of players, a lot of things to keep track of, and he said you don't have to stop and check things, and that'll make sense, because I feel like it would be hard to I feel like it wouldn't be hard to, it would just be so tedious to do that.
From ordinary Dungeons & Dragons.
Such a large game.
Robert strives to keep the stakes as high as possible for his players, especially when it comes to life and death consequences for their characters.
I want death to mean something. I don't want this to be like a video game that you simply hit the reset button and you're just going to start a new character. So when your character dies, if you don't have any other characters, then you're out of the game. The game's over for you. And so when characters die or bad things happen, I have seen grown men weep at the table. And that's something also, people who don't play are a bit disturbed if they hear that somebody who's been playing a character for a long time weeps at the table. But I'm trying to create emotion. I'm trying to...
No, that's the point of all this. That's not hard to believe. Like, imagine playing your character for 5 years in his game and you die and you have no characters and you're out. You're out. Like, you're off the table. That is a hard thing to swallow. I would imagine that'd be a hard thing to swallow.
to create excitement. People are scared, and knowing that if you die, you could be out of the game, or that character that you put so much time in is now dead. Obviously, people's heart rates are up, there's emotion going on, so I can't be shocked and surprised when that character dies that there's a show of emotion.
Nah, yeah, I'm not shocked either.
I have one daughter, and ever since she was a baby, she's been around this. I think maybe when she was 6 or 7 was the first time when she asked whether she could play. So she created a character as a fairy, and she still plays now. She's 20 years old. I mean, obviously, there's other stuff going on in her life, but she's been playing all the way through. The interesting thing happens when she starts dating, and then her boyfriend wants to play. And of course, I have to tell her straight off the go, now, this relationship may not last forever, but the game's gonna last forever. So get ready, because I'm anticipating a situation when you break up with him, I can't break up with him. So once I allow somebody to come into the game, I'm never...
I love that, yo, he said...
play. And of course, I have to tell her straight off the...
You break up with him, I can't break up with him.
Go now. This relationship may not last forever, but the game's gonna last forever. So get ready, because I'm anticipating a situation when you break up with him, I can't break up with him. So once
this is like dad, man. This is cool dad, bro.
I allow somebody to come into the game, I'm never ever gonna stop them from playing the game. So sure enough, that situation happened. And so it can be a little bit awkward at times, but it means a lot to be able to have my daughter play the game and to have her interested in the game. And she obviously knows what the game means to me, for sure. I think there's an assumption that at some point we're all going to grow up and we're going to stop playing games. And so people always say, how does your game end? How's it going to end? And it's like, well, my answer is always, how does the world end? How is your world going to end? Well, it's probably going to end when I die. Well, for you it is, right? And so the answer is largely the same. It's much like life. More than anything else, the game represents friendship. And I find that friendship is based on planks. You need something to hold it together. So we may have gone to high school together, but as we go through our lives, unless we have a plank, we're not going to get together. We're not going to fly to see each other. So as long as I can keep doing it, hopefully for all of my life, I won't lose my friends. My basement's my sanctuary. It's a place that I can come and I can, almost as soon as I walk down here, I am in a different world. And it opens up all the doors of creativity. I don't ever intend on stopping playing, on stopping painting, on stopping building, and on stopping bringing my friends together to play the game. I don't ever intend on quitting.
I love that, man. That was so dope. That was so cool. Thank you for recommending this to me. Much love in Moonlight, and I'll see y'all in the next one. And my final words are, that goes for everything in life, bruh. Like, I love that. I love how he explained the death thing. Like, when is your game gonna end? Oh, just because y'all grew up. Like, it's like, bro, this reality is supposed to be experienced however you would like to experience it. We got some fuckheaded inorganic shit that took it over. But we have free will, man. Live your life, enjoy it. And keep your pals that you got planks with according to him close, you know? Love that. All right, I'm out of here.